Good afternoon, and welcome once again to Intimate Conversations with Francis O'Brien, healing one heart. Okay, the reason why I'm doing it all weird is because in one hand, I have a cup of coffee. So, I just thought before I record my program, let me just chug down a cup of coffee. But I realized that there's a lot of distracting sounds and there's a lot of, disturbances here and there in terms of sound. So I just thought, let me just be chugging down a cup of coffee. So I'm actually coming from church right now, and I got something to eat in the church cafeteria, and then I didn't get something to drink. Ugh, very clever, Francis. So on the way here, I was snacking on the stuff that I bought at church. And then I got here and I was really thirsty. And then I thought, let me just make myself a cup of coffee and wait for all the distractions to kind of die down and all the noises on the outside. So I'm just reading the notes before I get started. I'm just reading the notes that I wrote for today's conversation that I'll be having with you guys. So grab yourselves a cup of coffee. Excuse this cup, it actually looks like a festive cup. Hey, look, I'm not one of those that moves with times and stuff like that. Perhaps that will change with time, whatever. So yeah, grab yourself a cup of coffee, tea, whatever floats your boat, and let's sit and relax and have a nice conversation as we discuss today's topic. And I hope that I pray actually before I started this recording, I actually prayed and asked God that whoever gets to listen to this is touched by it, is strengthened by it, is motivated by it, is informed by it, especially to make the right decisions that they need to make. So yeah, let me know in the comments below what were you guys up to. It's a Sunday. By the time I upload this, which will probably be tomorrow, if not Tuesday. So yeah, let me know what you were up to this past weekend. It's the weekend of the 7th and the 6th of July, 6 to 7 July. So yeah, let me know what you guys were up to. What are you doing? Did you have fun? I hope there was no woes and stresses in your life. A lot of people are going through a lot of drama. It's unbelievable. Sometimes you really have to thank God for strength and for life. Sometimes some people will be like, what's the point of living, if I'm not going to be happy and stuff like that. But there's a lot to be thankful for. There's a lot to be thankful for. The fact that you get to wake up every day and you get the opportunity to redo things. Oh, excuse me. That crept up on me. So, the fact that you get to wake up and redo things a lot differently than you did the previous day or whenever is I think a blessing. It's an opportunity, and I know that with each time we do stuff, even if we get an opportunity to do it again, we can always do it better the next time around. So yeah, let me know what you guys have been up to. So let me just, my coffee's around about there, so just bear with me as I talk to you and have some girl gossip. It's just as I chug down my coffee. So yeah, it's really good, by the way. So I hope you have something to drink while you are sitting down with me and relaxing. Church was really wonderful. You know what it's like when you're doing something and in terms of your purpose, and everything that you do or everything that you encounter around you is aligned to your purpose. That's when you know that what you're doing is right. Coincidentally, on my Instagram page, which if you'd like to know is lady.francis, I posted a screenshot of motivational quotes. And the screenshot said something like, not all who wander are lost. And today's message was, don't wander. And I'm thinking, wow, that's just amazing. That's really amazing that and it's not the first time. There's many things that have just been pointing me in this direction. So I'm really grateful for the opportunity to have started my own YouTube channel. Good Lord, this is like a lengthy intro. 4 minutes in, and I'm still trying to check this down. Just bear with me a minute. If I cut this out, that'll probably be good. But if I don't, bottoms up. I really love coffee, whether it's hot or it's cold. In summer, I like iced coffee. In winter, obviously. Just in case you're wondering, normally when I go and visit my mom, I love stocking the fridge with iced coffee. It's like the best, the best. I am a satisfied customer of my own coffee. Welcome to Intimate Conversations with Francis O'Brien, healing one heart at a time. Don't forget, like I always ask at the end or the beginning of my videos, and I say, if there's anybody there that knows sign language that could teach me the healing one heart at a time part in a sign language, I'd really appreciate it because I'd like to incorporate that in my intro. It just really is something that I like. So don't forget to do that. Right, moving on to topic. If you see me moving this side, looking at this side quite a number of times, it's because this is where my notebook is, which I showed much earlier on. Today's conversation, which as usual, like I said on my channel, I'll be talking about stuff that I've passed through and that I relate to. And I just know a lot of women out there are going through the same thing or have gone through the same thing and are trying to pick up the pieces of their lives. So if I can, use my story to motivate, then to God be the glory. To God be the glory. Today I'm going to be talking about contributing factors to a broken woman. Now, it's very difficult for us as women to admit that we're broken. It's something that almost feels embarrassing to admit. It feels like it's a weakness that we're admitting if we say we're broken. And it's there's many things that can contribute to the brokenness of a woman. It's most of the times it's external factors, but actually most of the times it's internal factors before it becomes external factors. With men, I feel that it's, men are affected more by external factors rather than internal factors. That's not to say they're exempt from internal factors. When I say external, I'm talking about societal kind of challenges, um, occupational challenges or occupational factors that could, probably break a man. But today we're not going to be talking about men, we're going to be talking about women. If men also feel that they're going to, benefit from this particular content, then by all means, men, please feel free to listen in. And I pray that God touches you as you listen to my content this afternoon, which is actually afternoon right now. And a lot of us, I think, as human beings, the things that affect us or that lead to our brokenness normally start at developmental ages. So, I listed quite a few factors that impact us as individuals or as women, that lead or contribute to us as brokenness. And just for the record, I actually recorded Understanding the Brokenness of a Woman. Now, if you want an in-depth video on it, which this is where I was motivated and inspired from, there's a man I follow. He's a pastor. His name is Pastor R.C. Blakes Jr. I repeat, R.C. Blakes Jr. He has his own YouTube channel, and he is, if he ever gets the chance to watch this, Pastor R.C. Blakes and your beautiful wife Lisa, I must tell you guys, you have touched a woman in South Africa, in Africa, with the way you have put your story and the way you have really, identified all the issues that affect women, from the father wound issue to narcissistic relationships, and it's, consequences, for lack of better words, or the aftermath of it, and many other things that you do talk about. So Pastor R.C. Blakes, God bless you. I really want to say God bless you for the work that you do. Family, please, if there's any woman out there that probably doesn't have a father figure in her life, or if there's men out there that probably don't have a father figure, R.C. Blakes is one of those men that I would recommend as a father figure or as a mentor from afar. He is a well of wisdom, and I don't think it's the first time I'm mentioning him in my videos. I've mentioned him before. He's an amazing man. So yeah, moving on. Oh yeah, and I said, so that was about R.C. Blakes, and then I actually recorded or did a show on radio, which is called Understanding the Brokenness of a Woman. And that is it's on a podcast, so you can visit www.dexterityradio.co.za and then look under the motivational section and look under my tabs. You will see Understanding the Brokenness of a Woman. So this is kind of derived from that. So if you'd like to listen to that podcast, please make sure that you go there and download it and listen. And I know it's going to benefit you and quite a lot. It's really going to benefit you. So moving on to today's topic, which is contributing factors to a broken woman. It is a fact that women are emotional beings, and unfortunately, we tend to internalize a lot of our pain and carry it through the various stages of our lives. And it's so true. Stuff that, and I gave that in my life story, and I was talking about stuff that I passed through when I was a kid, and how it's affected me, as how it affected me as a teenager, as a young woman, as a a partner or spouse, as a parent. A lot of that has impacted what has happened to me. A lot of it has impacted my life, as a woman. And unfortunately, we do carry this pain and this baggage in our different relationships, whether it's a relationship with our spouse, whether it's a relationship with our friends, whether it's a relationship with our church people, or, fellow church goers, whether it's a relationship with your colleagues at work. The things that have happened to us as women, we internalize them and carry that baggage right through our lifetime. And I really pray that as you listen to me, you identify those things as quick as you can. You heal from them as quick as you can, which is probably going to lead to me doing another video as to how to heal. Like I said, I'm going to be talking a lot about emotional abuse and how to get to the process of healing. And I must say, I'm also on my journey of healing, and it's a beautiful journey. But I can't say I'm doing it alone. I'm not using a therapist. I'm not using a counselor. The only counselor and the therapist that I'm using is God. And it takes an incredible amount of letting go. And I know people get to ask this question, but how do you let go? But anyway, that's a conversation for my next topic. So, unfortunately, when we carry this pain and this baggage, it really affects our performance, in these relationships, because people don't understand who we are, people don't understand what we are, and people don't understand why we are the way we are. And that only doesn't go necessarily for, the opposite sex in the workspace, in a relationship, in friends or church or whatever. That also goes for fellow women. Some women haven't passed some of this, and, a lot of us have. And when they see you perform or act sort of strange or weird, they wonder, okay, what's wrong with her? Why is she acting the way she's acting? That kind of thing. So a lot of women, unfortunately, are extremely private and they are introverted. So it takes an incredible amount of trust, and that trust has to be earned over a certain period of time with a specific individual to earn their trust, to begin to divulge the very important or very deep and sensitive information to share with the person. We don't normally as women just talk about stuff. It's very personal and it's private and it's painful and it's deep, and I'm stripping myself in front of a person, and I can only do that in front of a person I'm very comfortable with and I feel very safe with. So, most times getting a woman to talk honestly is just like striking a rock and expecting water to come out from it. And the last time that was performed, that was Moses. That's never going to happen. So, we really have to have a relationship of trust that we have with a specific individual. Because before we begin to divulge certain amounts of information. So, with the various degrees of body modifications, I must say, of late, it's made it very easy for women to mask their pain. And when I say body modifications, cosmetic surgery, tattooing, makeup, something as simple as makeup, all these things contribute to either expression of pain, covering of pain, covering of marks, covering of insecurities, covering of anything that could make us feel vulnerable. We would wear makeup and we will do modifications. So whether it's, I don't know, cosmetic surgery, and I'm not bashing anybody who does cosmetic surgery, just so you know. So it could be just as simple as fixing my nose. It could be as simple as fixing my teeth. It could be as simple as doing a breast implant because maybe I'm not confident in terms of my appearance, or maybe I've been just so many times in terms of my body appearance. Then I think let me, enhance my body and make it look better, and then maybe people will accept me, for as accept me rather. That's why we do all of these things. So a woman won't, how will I explain it? A woman doesn't want you to see the pain, whether it's in her eyes or the pain or the scars or the marks on her body. We will do generally whatever we can to hide all of that, to mask all of that. And, it takes a very observant person to go through all those layers of whatever it is we've used to mask or to masquerade the pain. And living in such a fast world, it's very difficult for somebody to really unpeel you or unlayer you and get to discover who the real Francis is or who the real X, Y, and Z really is. And we have so much pain and hardship and brokenness that's covered up. We cover it up. We cover it up, and we cover it up for fear of judgment. There was, in the movie Enough with Jennifer Lopez, and I think a lot of women who've been physically abused go through that annoying question. That question irritates me. I can't even begin to explain. The part, if you've never watched it, please do watch it. The part where Jennifer gets slapped the first time by her husband, and then she goes over to her mother-in-law to go and see the mother-in-law, probably to obviously report this. So when she gets to the mother-in-law comes out and she's excited because she thinks Jennifer's come over with her granddaughter. So, as the mother-in-law pushes Jennifer Lopez's hair back, because Jennifer Lopez was wearing sunglasses, so she takes the sunglasses off. So as the mother pulls her hair back, she sees this bruise and she's like, "Oh my God, baby, I'm so sorry." And then she gives J-Lo a hug, Then she hugs him and then she moves back and she looks at her face and she says, "What did you say to him?" Ne, I agree. And it's not a justification, so please don't pin me for the statement. I agree. Some of us as women, including myself, really have a mouth that provokes gods to strike. Excuse me. A mouth that really provokes gods to strike. So, men who are not very strong are very quick with the hand. So the moment you say something, or you utter a statement, or you retaliate, then you get a slap in the face or a punch in the eye. And it's already too late because it's already happened. I'm not justifying that men should do that. I'm not saying that women shouldn't express themselves, but it's really painful if somebody asks you, "What did you say to warrant that beating?" As if I should never express myself, as if I should never tell you how I feel, as if I should never give my opinion. I should be allowed. I am a human being. I have a brain. I have a heart. I have emotions. I have intellect. I should be able to be expressive of my emotions, of my feelings and stuff like that. So when she said that, I was really irritated, and the funny thing is we don't even wait for people to criticize us. We as individuals, as women, we are our own worst critics. We are our own worst critics. We will blame ourselves when something is done to us. Maybe I said something. Maybe I did something. Maybe I provoked this person. Maybe I caused this. And, as a woman who hasn't, experienced physical abuse, emotional abuse is just as worse, because when somebody constantly says in your ear that you are the cause of things not going well or things not going right, that can break you, man. That can really break you. An unhealthy balance of emotions and self-esteem or self-worth is exactly what we go through, and we pass it on subconsciously to our children. This is why I'm recording stuff like this. This is not new. I'm sure a lot of you have heard these kinds of things, but like I said in my life story, and I think in other subsequent videos, and I said sometimes it's really important for us to share our stories. The more the devil's work is exposed, the better, because I want women to know that they're not alone when they go through these things. Many of us go through these things. Some of us don't talk about it, some of us talk about it. So it's very important for us to talk about these things. And it gives you encouragement to know that I'm not alone, and I will survive this, and I will get through this. Don't sit there in your space, in your private space, because when we experience these painful-ish things that happen to us in our lives, we cocoon ourselves and we hibernate in our homes, and we just think that the problem is going to disappear. But honeys, it doesn't disappear. It's just like, let me give you an example of a very good example. And I think I reckon, or rather, I reckon I'm really good when it comes to giving examples of analogies. Imagine you're in your house, women, eh? And you're sweeping your carpet, and then there's dirt. And then what you do is you lift up the rug and you sweep the dirt under it. Close the rug. Following day, it's time to clean again. Lift up the rug, sweep the dirt, cover it. Following day, lift up the rug, sweep the dirt, cover it. Eventually, that dirt is going to become a mound. And eventually, you're going to trip over that mound. It's just going to force you to lift up the carpet and think, ha, I can't believe I did this. That's what we do. We hide our pain. We hide our pain. And I've hidden my pain for years. And I know I've seen a lot of posts sometimes which says the women with the most beautiful smile hide the deepest of pain. I don't know how true that is, but I can tell you that I've hidden my fair share of pain. You smile and you have a very strong face, very strong face. Like I said early on, we are our own worst critics. I don't want people to think I'm weak. I don't want people to think I can't run my home. I don't want people to think I'm not confident, I'm not bold. There's so many things that we tell ourselves, but inside, we are a volcano waiting to erupt. So I'm going to get into factors. Let's get into business now. I'm going to get into the factors that contribute to the brokenness of a woman, spoken by a woman. Pastor R.C. Blakes is a man, and he gives, yes, it's very nice to resonate with, but very few of us as women really sit and divulge some of this information. It's very few. Very few are very comfortable divulging the information that they go through in terms of expressing their pain and letting their story out into the world. It's difficult. And I really commend Pastor R.C. Blakes, and obviously he says, he's a doctor of life, so it's all contributed to experience, things he's either gone through himself, things that he's seen, people that he's counseled. Like I said earlier, women want to talk to somebody one-on-one, but you have to earn their trust before they eventually crack and they release water, which is the information. They don't just talk like that, and they have to really trust you. And if there's anybody out there who has a woman that talks to them, please do not violate her trust. When she gets to a point where she begins to divulge information, you are her last hope. Value that confidence. Hold it sacred. That's what I'll say. Hold it sacred. Don't just take it for granted. And as women, sometimes we do share these problems with each other. Sometimes we don't, which is another thing. That's a conversation for another day. So, right. Factor number one. So I hope you guys either download this video or you write notes like I did, so that you have this as a referral point whenever you're feeling, somewhat, I don't know, what's the word? Perhaps you're feeling like you don't know how to express yourself, which is one thing that I used to feel at one point. Like I couldn't express myself. And then when I started listening to R.C. Blakes quite a lot, he's really quite articulate in terms of how he puts his points across. So number one, factors that lead to the brokenness of a woman is the lack of a father figure. And in my life story, which I've given, which I really do, request that you watch it. To all the men out there, I wish you would know how important you are to us as women. And I will say it. I'm not ashamed to say it. Men, you are important to us. We see you as women. We see you as symbols of authority. We see you as heads and not tails. We see you as protectors. We see you as providers. We see you as the heads of families, heads of states, of communities, we see you as leaders. You may feel like it's a lot of pressure, but there are always support structures around you as men. And when we see you, when you're not active, there's so many guys that I know that are active in their children's lives or even in their relationships. And there's so many guys I know that are not active in their relationships. There's different reasons. I'm not going to get into that for now. But I'm going to, for the sake of the point number one, lack of a father figure is very detrimental to the developmental stage of a child, girl or boy. I'll always talk about a girl because it's me talking. You know, it breaks a woman when a male figure is not there because she makes wrong relational choices. We end up looking to fill a void, which is to look for a father figure. Sometimes we date older men, sometimes we date multiple men because there's something that we're looking for. There's a void that we're looking for that cannot be filled, that only a male or a man can occupy. So a man, you get two types of men. You get the man who is physically present, emotionally absent. I had that. My father was like that. He was home. I don't know. Maybe it's because my dad used to be in the army, and I don't know. People who used to come from the army have PTSD, which is post-traumatic stress disorder. Yes? And it messes around with the emotions, and it messes around with their mental functionality, for lack of better words. So he was present, but he was absent. Completely absent. That man would sit on the couch and for hours and hours on end, he would read a Bible and he would underline the Bible. But the stuff that would come out of his mouth when he's arguing with my mom would be completely contrary to what the Bible says. And I used to look at him and wonder, what is up with this man? And, even my mom, I'd hear her questioning as well. Like, why do you talk like this, but you claim you go to church, that type of thing. So that's a man who is present physically, absent emotionally. Then you have a man who is absent physically, totally not there. You just know you have a father, but he's never around. Either he's always at work, business, recreational activity, whatever it is. You just know you have a father, but he's never there. And you wonder, why is this man never there? Like, why is he never present? Yeah, it's really frustrating. I must tell you, Né? It's frustrating to want to have a father to communicate with and he's never there. So that can lead to the brokenness of a woman because, a father figure is very important because his presence or behavior leaves a lasting imprint in the mind of a boy or girl. And in my case, the lack of acceptance from my father is what led to my brokenness as a woman. And it takes an incredible amount of strength and an incredible amount of maturity as well, I think, to admit when something has broken you. But you have to get to a broken stage. A lot of people get very scared to be broken. Allow God to break you. Although the situation has broken you, but when God breaks you, I'll put it in this sense, he unpeels everything that you subconsciously buried in your life. And he reminds you that he was there. And he tells you that he is there to comfort you. He will never leave you nor forsake you. And then he completely, slowly but gradually washes everything away from you. He cleanses your spirit, your mind, your emotions. He cleanses them slowly but surely. It's not an overnight job. It requires, I have to move closer. It requires nights of wailing, bawling out. It requires nights of sleepless nights, of night upon night upon night. It requires a substantial amount of vulnerability to a force that you don't see, to completely open you up, dissect you, and scrub you and put you back together again. That is what God does, and you have to trust him in that process and allow him to do that for you. So number one is lack of a father figure. Number two is abuse. Contributing factor to the brokenness of a woman, number two, is abuse. Be it spiritual abuse, physical abuse, emotional abuse, this plays an integral part in contributing to the brokenness of a woman. Physical abuse, I don't even have to go in there. You have scars, first of all, from the physical abuse that you have to cover up with me not makeup. That's why I said, thank God for modifications, cosmetic surgeries that cover up a lot of things. A lot of women have been beaten and scarred, and they've had to go for cosmetic surgery to probably cover up that horrid scar that's going to be reminding them forever what was done to them and how it was done to them. So physical abuse breaks a woman substantially. Naturally, as the sexes, we are the weakest ones. Enforcing it or reinforcing the fact that I'm weaker than you by you physically oppressing me completely finishes me as a human being. Men, I wish you would understand that. Like I said earlier on, sometimes as women we have a lip, and I'm not justifying it. And yes, there are things that we say that are provocative. I'm not saying, men, I wish you were big enough to just walk away, even if it means leaving the relationship temporarily if you're married, so that the point is made across to that woman. I don't condone divorce. I really don't. But I condone different steps that one can use to heal. But that's another, conversation. So in terms of physical abuse, that's obvious. I've explained it and how it really impacts a woman. Then you have spiritual abuse, where somebody completely, either diabolically or just naturally challenges your faith. Perhaps you're a Christian woman and you grew up in a very strict Christian background, and then you've got this atheist that you date in your life, and he does not agree to anything that you believe in, and he makes you completely doubt, and he exposes you to a different side of life that is completely contrary to your faith. That can break you because it makes you lose your identity in who you believe in, which is God. In my case, I would say God. So that's just spirituality. Then you've got your emotional abuse. When somebody gaslights you, to gaslight somebody, for those that don't understand, gaslighting is when somebody makes you think you're crazy and you're not. I've been through that. That's a conversation again for another day. It is unbelievable how twisted some people are. And that to me is a narcissistic tendency. When somebody gaslights you, it completely, it almost scrubs off every foundation that was ever instilled in you by either your parents, your school, your people at church, any influential individual in your life. When an emotional abuser comes into your space, it completely shakes, uproots, and almost eradicates everything that was ever instilled in you. And it forces you to almost want to find yourself again or rebuild yourself. So that's what contributes in terms of abuse. And it takes a massive toll on a woman. And, it affects our self-esteem. It affects our intelligence. It affects our maturity. It affects our decision making. It affects our creativity, and just the day-to-day running of our activities, from being a mother to a wife to a career woman. It affects everything. You're not creative at work. You are you're not focused. You're constantly distracted by different things. You're indecisive. There's many things that affect you in terms of abuse. So contributing factor number 2 is abuse: spiritual, physical, emotional, and perhaps even psychological abuse. I'll expand furthermore, number 2, on the different types of abuses. So here I wrote that being a victim of, rather, let me start from the beginning. It says, with physical abuse, this has been covered substantially by different professionals across, all the perhaps social media, for lack of better words. So I'll delve into the emotional and the spiritual abuse, being a victim of the latter, which is the emotional and spiritual abuse, not the physical abuse. It's very easy to say that an emotionally abused woman is a deeply yet invisibly scarred woman. And that's something that it's very hard to admit, to say to yourself, I am an emotionally and spiritually abused woman. or I am an emotionally abused woman, or even I am a physically abused woman, because it automatically shows my weakness, my vulnerability, my um, lack of courage in self, more importantly. So I'll expand on how it makes or it alters a woman under abuse, specifically emotional and spiritual. So, number one, it makes a woman paranoid of almost everything, people's comments, people's actions, and even non actions. You know what it's like when somebody talks and then you wonder, I wonder why they said that. Why did they say that? Were they talking about me? Did I do something? Did I say something? Or maybe you do something or you say something and they don't react and you think, was I dumb? Maybe I shouldn't have said that. Or was out of line? Or did I just make a fool of myself? So you become completely and utterly paranoid, which kills your confidence on so many levels. It kills your confidence when you're paranoid. That makes you almost, which leads me into number two, which says you become very anxious. You're anxious because our minds, as emotionally and spiritually abused women, our minds have been programmed to an almost dependent state because we don't know how to think independently, and the thought of being left or threatened to be left makes us slaves to our captors. Let me give you a perfect example. In terms of emotional abuse, there's certain comments that people just make in relationships, and I don't know what people get when they say those kinds of statements. Ladies, if you hear these statements, please run. Oh my God. Okay, I just had a reminder. Oh, stories. Oh, MG. My ex used to tell me, statements like, "You will never have another man love you." I mean, that's the oldest line in the book. Or, stuff like, "Do you know how many women out there are begging to date me? Do you know what a privilege it is to date me?" Can I be honest with them? Can I be honest? Honestly, that statement never used to bug me. I actually used to think he was pretty demented for making that kind of statement, because I'm like, if you know that it's a privilege for them to date you and you realize that you're going to benefit from them, from you dating them, why are you with them and not with me? What is it about me that intimidates you so much for you to make that statement in the first place? That's what I used to tell myself. And in the end, I just like, but then if it's such a privilege to date you, why don't you go and be with them? This is the reverse psychology. Francis, it's not because I don't love them. That's the reason why I'm not with them. It's because of you. I love you. This is. In the same breath, you open your mouth and tell me it's a privilege to date you and I must respect. Ah. And then you get another thing. Francis, if you ever leave me, if you ever leave me, you will never find another man who will love you. You will never find a man who will appreciate you. You will never, no man will love you. Any man who comes into your life is going to give you nothing but pain. Like, who the hell are you, first of all, to have all these evil wishes for my life? That's number one. Secondly, who on earth gave you the authority to speak over my life because you're not God? So, why I had that thought? I was like, oh my God, juicy stories. So, as a single woman, you put yourself out there and you try to mingle with guys. There was one. He kept on telling me how much. Oh my gosh. Guys, ladies, here's another one. A lot of men approach you sometimes and they say, "God told me that you're my wife." If God never told you as the woman that, don't just fall hook, line, and sinker for somebody who just comes and tells you that. So anyway, long story short, this guy tells me, you're the one that God says is my wife. I can't stop thinking about you. You mean everything to me. He would harass me telephonically. And when I say telephonically, I mean via Facebook Messenger. When I eventually blew the guy off, he literally said the same things to me that my ex said, which was, "You will never find another man that will love you the way every man that comes into your life will bring you pain." It's like I was having a deja vu moment. I remember looking at this message and I'm thinking, is this my ex's twin? I don't know, men. I think it's an incredible amount of insecurity that you have as a man for you to utter that kind of statement. You are seriously insecure. That's not the talk of a confident man. It's a talk of a weak man. Now, ladies, I'm not saying you must go and say that to them. You can think it, but don't say, because that's a provocative statement. I mean, you're calling the man weak. No man really wants to hear that. So be very wise about the words that you use. So, just hearing that, I just thought, so anyway, when you're trapped in this relationship and you become completely anxious and you can't think independently and you develop a dependent state where you can't do anything unless this person is there and you can't function unless this person is there. You can't go outside or you can't take a drive on your own because you need him to be there in the car with you to take a drive. I have heard, oh my God, there's a lady that I know. She doesn't even go anywhere without her husband there or driving her around or that kind of stuff. How on earth, ladies, are you going to be dependent if your partner is always there doing everything with and for you? How do you become independent? God forbid your husband dies. How are you going to function then? Ladies, we are stronger than what we think. I'm not saying develop a Xena warrior mode or what's this woman's name? A Wonder Woman mentality and think, I don't need you. Rah! Don't do that. We obviously need these men, but be very clever about how you present yourself. So anyway, part or number C, in terms of the emotional, we're still on point number 2 of abuse, and we're breaking emotional and spiritual abuse down. So we're on the third point. The first was paranoia, the second was anxiety, and the third one is you become incredibly indecisive, which touches on anxiousness. So it takes us forever to decide because we always want to consider other people's feelings and thoughts, even at the expense of our own. You never know you can't make up your mind. You don't make up your mind and you frustrate everybody. You become extremely indecisive. You know why you become like that? Let me, for those that don't understand, when you're emotionally abused and somebody's always shutting down your opinions and making you feel like you're thick, stupid, and you're just irrelevant, it makes it very difficult for you to ever voice your opinion. It makes it difficult for you to ever make a decision. Because when you make a decision and your partner maybe comes back home and you say, oh, hi, babe, and you're really happy, and the person, and you say, oh, babe, by the way, there was an outstanding bill and I just decided to pay because we're going to cut maybe the cable off. Then you get, who the hell told you to pay that bill? Do you know that I had planned that money? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. In your mind, you know you did the right thing. But this person talks to you as if you made the most stupid decision in your life. Like you didn't have a brain before you made that decision. And that's not to say that it's, sometimes the decisions that you should be making on your own and your partner shouldn't be affected by the decision that you're making. There are some financial decisions that yes, you may need to discuss with your partner because maybe some other bill may be more important than the one that you use the money to pay. That's different. But if the person's always shutting down your brain, your ideas, shutting down your input, shutting down your suggestions, it makes you incredibly indecisive. So you can't function. You can't function. Just that's how you get emotionally broken. That's a factor that leads to the brokenness of a woman. Number D, you become incredibly introverted. So if, like myself, if you were an incredibly extroverted person, outgoing, flamboyant, and you meet a person who emotionally and spiritually abuses you, you become introverted, completely secluded, and you just become withdrawn and you delve in your own thoughts. You're in your own world. What people think, say, feel, you don't care. You really don't. You just shut down. Because you've been shut down on so many occasions. You think it's not necessary for me to show who I am. So let me just keep to myself. Let me be withdrawn. The light that God has given me, the talent that God has given me, let me just bury it because I'm always getting shut down. So you become introverted. You develop a character or a personality change, which is point number E. This one I can attest to. Not that I'm saying the other ones I don't. This one really resonates with me because this happens when you've been around the individual that abused you long enough for the person, to change you into something that you're not. Most times it's usually for the worst, and your family, friends, and colleagues don't even recognize you. I'll give you an example. I don't know if I gave this example earlier on. I probably did. You know, there was something, I found myself becoming incredibly aggressive in terms of my approach and my tone when I'm talking to people. Like if somebody says, but Francis, I don't like it, I'm like, yeah, so I don't care. Like if you don't like it, that's your business. You know, And when I used to sit down, this is a part where God begins to unpeel you. When you sit down and you reflect on the way you used to communicate, you realize that that wasn't you. You had really sponged or absorbed this person's negativity, and you had become that. And that's what people around you begin to not recognize. Your personality changes, your character. You develop some kind of character that is really nothing from what people know you to be. Number F, you become a people pleaser. You live literally to make everyone else happy, and you live as a shadow of yourself. There's a huge difference between making people happy and you are genuinely happy doing it. And there's a difference between being completely or feeling empty once you've done something to please somebody else. Don't be a people pleaser at your expense. It's not worth it. It really isn't worth it. Number G is isolation. So due to your changing personality or your character, people begin to question the reason of the influence of your change in behavior or character. And once they identify your partner as the cause of your character change, you begin to back away from them and you isolate yourself from them. Subconsciously, I'll tell you why you're doing that. You are doing that because you don't want people to question or even interrogate you any further as to why you are accepting this, why you are tolerating it. And you justify the person's behavior. So therefore, it leaves you lonely because you don't want to be around those people who'll be asking you questions about your partner. But do you see that this person has changed you? Do you see that this person has made your life worse than it actually was before? Do you see that this person has impacted your life negatively? Do you see that you haven't grown ever since you started dating or ever since you married this person? Now, you don't want to be hearing that. So as a result, you now isolate yourself from them. You isolate yourself from your friends, your family, your colleagues, your church members, or your fellow church members that you go with. You don't want them to interrogate you, so you stay away from them. So that isolates you. And I've been there. You become an excuse maker. You justify your behavior and your partner's behavior because you feel you know your partner and people don't know your partner. This is classic. I did this. So that's like something happens perhaps at a gathering, a family gathering, and then your partner does something strange. And everybody's like, why did they do that? They're like, oh no. No, when they do that in their culture, because I'll say it in my case, because I always refer to myself as an example. No, in their culture, when they do this, it makes sense. I'll give you a perfect example. In my ex's culture, when he comes into the house, he just doesn't go and sit down. He actually stands and waits to be told, come and sit, because then he knows or they believe that you've been invited into the house. In other cultures, it's considered very rude to stand in somebody else's house. So the moment you get in, go and find a seat and sit. So now he would always come into the house and stand and wait to be told to sit. My family interpreted that as rudeness, and I always had to justify, no, where he comes from, he waits for people to tell him to sit down because it'll be assumed that he's cocky and he's doing it as he pleases in a house that is not his. That's why he stands there. Oh my God, like I said, it delves, all of these points are intertwined. That's why I'm saying you become a people pleaser, because now you are doing things to make them happy at your expense, because you're trying to explain where this person comes from. Yes, you may be right, you do know the person more and your family doesn't, and you're explaining, but to make yourself happy, to make your partner happy, and to make your family happy, you don't even attend those family gatherings so that you can just stay away from all of those questions and those problems. Oh my gosh, it's just incredible the amount of pressure that dating or being married to these kinds of people can do to you as an individual. So that wraps up our points under emotional and spiritual abuse. If you've got any points, please make sure that you can add them in the comments box below. I'd like to hear what you guys have to say in terms of your personal experiences. I'd really appreciate that. So now we've covered lack of a father figure, we covered abuse, and we expatiated on abuse. Now point number 3 is there becomes a change in your beliefs, your morals, and your values, which is I partially covered in one of the pointers of under abuse. So we're still talking about the contributing factors to the brokenness of a woman. So this I need to share with you. I began to believe to a certain extent in being loud to get my point across, meaning I displayed an almost aggressive don't care attitude when I was communicating with people, which I told you earlier on. And unfortunately, even my son, when it came to beliefs, because of my ex's upbringing, the things he was exposed to began to influence my belief system. I'll give an example. Everything that went wrong in my life because my ex, where he came from, they believed in witches, wizards, hexes, spells, incantations, charms, shrines, altars, and stuff like that. I didn't even know what that was. I promise you, all I know, if somebody told me a witch when I was a kid, that's how I grew up, I knew a witch from storybooks. And that was a very green old lady with a hooked nose and a pointy hat, cackling over a steaming cauldron with an owl and a broomstick as transport. That's what I knew. It's just incredible how people's upbringing can affect your relationship. Now, in his world, I could be a witch, as pretty or as eloquent as I think I am. I could be a witch. So my point is, common sense flies out the window. Anything that went wrong, it was not attributed to you didn't think it through, or you were hasty, or just common sense flew out the window. Everything that went wrong, yeah, it's a witch. It's a wizard. I am so grateful to God Almighty that I can laugh at this. It wasn't funny then, guys. It wasn't funny. That man used to use words. If he would come with a business proposal, he'd come with some kind of dumb suggestion of making money, which why I call it dumb is because I would be the one who'd end up funding it. So that's why I'd call it dumb. And if he came up with it and I would shut it down, he would say, yeah, I've always known you are an enemy of progress. How do you say that to somebody that you claim you love? He called me an enemy of progress, I think 2 or 3 times, but it was enough to really stay in my spirit and just be something that festered in an ugly way. Because I really couldn't believe somebody who claimed they love me would call me an enemy of progress. Because if I don't want your progress, that means I want my digression in a relationship, which to me didn't make sense. But anyway, so I remembered one time, and I'll share the story with you. I visited my mom in Australia with my son when he was still alive, and we went to a mall. My son misbehaved, né? And as I was disciplining my son, I became incredibly loud, and I wasn't aware. Well, even though I was aware, I didn't care about people's roving eyes and judgmental comments. And I remember at one point, my mom actually said, do you know, you're actually really loud. Keep it down. And I go, no, I don't care. He must know that he's wrong. No, 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 no. Savage and unruly behavior, which is completely far from how my mom raised me. And I thought it was normal. And it was okay to behave like that in public. Changing your beliefs, morals, and values. My ex came from a background where they would literally bring the house down when they're disciplining somebody. The noise, the noise, the yelling, the bickering, the arguing, it was a norm. Elevated noise, elevated voices that are so deafening, and you'd wonder, do you have to be so loud just to get your point across? And I honestly felt that I had to be loud just to get my point across. For somebody to listen, I had felt I had to be, And you don't have to be, not only is it unladylike, it's just unruly behavior. It's savage to behave like that. It's understandable when you guys are having an argument, but if you're just trying to have probably a debate, or you're trying to put your point across to somebody for somebody to probably understand where you're coming from, you elevate yourself and you become this inflated King Kong, literally. Your nostrils flare. It's just unruly and savage behavior, especially for a lady. You shouldn't be behaving like that, but when you're under the influence of somebody who's very negative, you don't see these gradual changes. And it takes a while. I mean, you have to be around this person long enough for you to understand how much they've affected you, your thought process, your belief system, your values, and your morals. You have to be. Honestly, when my mom rebuked me and I still was defiant, honestly, I felt bad afterwards because I really knew that this wasn't me. And when I spoke to my mom a couple of times, she told me that, my dear, you morphed into something I didn't understand. You morphed into a completely different human being from what I knew you to be or from what I raised you to be. You were such a loving child. You were so calm and caring for other people, but you developed this barbaric behavior, and I knew it wasn't you. It was this person you're with. Oh my gosh. Yeah, my family. That is change in your beliefs, your morals, and your values. Please, don't go around thinking that everything is because of witches and wizards. Sometimes it's just ignorance, pure ignorance or lack of common sense that just makes you make a wrong decision. It's not a witch or a demon. Oh, that's another one. It's not a demon. Sometimes, I think you've heard this, guys, before, so many times before. Sometimes we really attribute a lot of stuff to the devil, and I'm sure he just sits back in his laugh and in his chair, he guffles. He really guffles, thinking, I didn't do that, but hey, it's all good as me. Number 4, infidelity. It's a contributing factor to the brokenness of a woman. So when one is unfaithful to their partner, it leaves her, in this case, I'll also talk about the woman, it leaves her with many questions that make her doubt her worth. She wonders if she's good enough, how she can improve, and she at times blames herself for her partner cheating. So as a woman, we'll dress up a little more attractive. We'll try to be more kinky or kinkier in bed. We'll try to please you in any way we can. And infidelity dents a woman's ego and bruises or hurts her emotions more than one realizes. There's no woman I feel who's exempt from feeling worthless after their partner cheats on them. I don't even know what's worse, knowing that your partner is cheating and catching them, or knowing that your partner is cheating and not catching them. For me, I think it's worse not knowing, or knowing and not catching them, because you don't know how many there are. Which I suppose doesn't really make a difference, even if you catch them and you catch your partner with the one. You don't know if that's the only one. That not being the issue. But you will get episodes where you feel, is it my fault? But at that point, when all of these things were happening, I knew that it was because I wasn't financially strong. I was at one point dependent on him, despite the fact that he was not providing a lot of money. Which you'll understand, excuse me, because I talked about it in my life story. Yes, there are parts or times when you will feel, am I not pretty enough? And like I said, when you're stressed out and you are not accepted by a man, and then you feel that when he's courting you, he tells you all the things that are really nice that you want to hear as a woman. And then you get into a relationship and the person makes you feel like you're valuable. And then the person begins to cheat on you, which you begin to not understand why they're cheating on you. You begin to feel worthless and you go back to how you were feeling prior to the person courting you into the relationship. So, say for instance, in my case, when your father doesn't accept you, you go around looking for somebody that will accept you that is a male stroke man. When the person says the right things, does the right things, boosts your confidence and your ego, you become involved with this person. When you're now with this person, you feel like, yes, I finally found somebody that accepts me. They abuse you in that relationship by having an affair. And when they have an affair, it gives you self-worthless. It gives you a feeling or a sense of worthlessness and doubt as to who you are. And as a result, it takes you back to where you were in the beginning when you guys were starting your relationship. For men, I think you guys know already how much it breaks a woman when you guys cheat on a woman. You know, I am so happy. It's an hour now in my recording, and it's been so quiet. I am so happy. Like, there's no distractions, no screaming baby from my neighbor, no cycling. Winter's a really good month because it keeps a lot of people very quiet. The cold really keeps people quiet. By the time it's summer, oh my God, I don't know how I'm going to record because all the kids will be outside riding bikes and screaming. I can wait for that time. But anyway, so yeah, it's a really painful transition, or it's really a painful digression going back to what you thought you've moved on from and you've healed from, or so you think in your mind. So infidelity for sure contributes to the brokenness of a woman. Number 5, deception and lies. Deceptions and lies, which goes hand in hand with infidelity. It makes a woman really question why she is perpetually lied to, which in most cases has truly nothing to do with the person. You know, I hear men when you say, but why do you lie to your woman? This is the excuse that most men give. Yeah, the reason why I lie is because, I know the kind of woman my wife is. Or I know the kind of person that my woman is. There's certain things that you can't tell her. Because if you tell her, then she becomes like this. Then you wonder, why do the thing that you know your wife doesn't really like? Fine, I'm not saying your wife's attitude must dictate how you feel, behave, etc. But in terms of infidelity and perpetual lying, why are you perpetually lying? That means the problem is with you. It's not even with your wife. This is how you like living your life. Deception is your middle name. Because I don't understand. You know, there's some people, and women are no exempt from this, by the way. Women are no exempt from this. I am not even going to try and exalt myself from this. But when you find you're always lying and living a deceptive life, the problem is you. It's not the person you're lying to. It's you, because you don't want them to see you for who you really are. That's why you lie. At one point, I did post on I think it was my Facebook page, and I said, never be afraid to be you at any time. And you must be you at all times. It doesn't matter who or what people think. Number 6. So that was number 5, deception and lies. Number 6, I've got number 6 here as constant and something else. So I will say number 6 is gaslighting. Gaslighting is when a person, which I touched on briefly, and I said number 6, which is gaslighting, is when a person makes you feel you're crazy and you're not. I'll give you a perfect example. You guys are having a conversation, and it's one of those conversations where you're discussing something that must be concluded because it has to be done at some point in the future, perhaps. You have the discussion, you conclude. Everybody gives their opinions, and then a conclusion is made. Then it gets to the point where the action now has to be done. The reflection of the discussion that was had based on the action that needs to be done becomes a very bad one, because one is denying that they didn't say what they actually said, which you heard them say it. Then they make you say you misunderstood what they said. Then they translate it or interpret it in a different way and convince you that what you heard was not what you heard. You heard what you wanted to hear. Am I making sense? It's so painful, especially when you know. Then you get to a point where you're like, but you did say this. Then in your mind, like, didn't they say that, or did I hear wrong? No, but this person. Then you end up getting to a point of whatever, and that's what they want you to get to, whatever, so that you end up doing what they want you to do. Oh my God, you guys, man, I could go on and on about gaslighting. I can't tell you. This thing can break a woman, because now she will doubt anything she says every time she talks. And she will want to make sure that the person clearly understood her when she spoke the first time. So if I say something to you like, guys, did you just understand what I just said now? They're like, yeah, we understood. Like, no, are you sure you heard? Did you truly understand what I said? And I'll ask you so many times to the point that you, the listener, get irritated by me repetitively making sure or repetitively ensuring that you heard what I said. I lived gaslighting for years. This man would say stuff and I would hear him clearly and he would deny everything that he said. When I eventually picked up on his joke, on his what's the word that I could use? When I eventually picked up on his stunt, he would say, "No, but Francis, that's not what you said." I'm like, "Okay, then you can think whatever you thought I said. It doesn't matter anymore. I don't care." No, but you can't. Then when you don't know, you need to learn how to take power from them, because when you have that back and forth of a narcissist enjoys riling your emotions and winding you to a point of insanity. They enjoy it. It's absolutely humorous and amusing to them. You have no idea, and it's at the expense of your sanity. That can break you to levels that you don't even want to even tamper with. The moment somebody begins gaslighting, just accept what they say. Yeah, but this is not what I said. Yeah, no, it's fine. That's fine. Whatever you said, it's fine. It doesn't matter. It's gone. It's too late. Ne? And I know I said earlier on, they want you to get to that point. If it's not worth it, don't push it. Just let it go. But if it's something that you know this person is now beginning to take advantage of you, then by all means stand your ground. And when I mean stand your ground, I mean stand your ground. Don't budge. Then you tell the person, it's better for us to not even do this thing that we thought we were going to do. Let's leave it alone. Let's not even do it at all. That also defeats a narcissist. It defeats them completely. It takes the game away from them. It frustrates them like you've got no idea. Okay, my time is fast going. So let me wind this up and get to my last point. My last point is constant comparisons. I pass this as well. When a woman is constantly compared with other women, it makes her feel inadequate. It may be in running a home, keeping fit, a cooking style, resourcefulness in terms of how she perhaps gets what she wants to get, whether she's a go-getter, how resourceful is she, how many people does she know, how influential is she, etc., etc. Your fashion sense, your mothering technique, your career progression. Perhaps you are not advancing in your career like every other woman is. Perhaps you're stagnant. You've been stagnant for a while. In education as well. I remember I used to be told, but Francis, why is it that you're doing stuff like this? But other women, why is it that your own is different? But when other women do it, their stuff works. And I'm like, what exactly is it that they do that mine is that I'm doing that is not working for me? And I'm like, do you know what? People are different. People are different. But at some point, the seed has been planted and you think, oh, is there something wrong with me? Maybe I'm not doing it right. Why is it that it's working for other women? And here's the funny part. You never really see the other people that you're being compared to. Oh my gosh. You never meet them. They're these phantoms that you're being compared to. Hmm. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. Be very careful and beware, ladies, of the things and the people that you're compared to. Sometimes it's just a facade. So he's just creating these things and these thoughts and these lies, and they just fill your brain and they fill you with such worthlessness over something that is not even true. It's not even true. I remember in terms of my mothering technique, let me give you a perfect example. I'll give you a perfect example as to why it's easy for me to talk about this. The person that I dated was like many men wrapped in one. It's like I was dating multiple personalities. I'm not a professional to diagnose this man and say he had multiple personality disorder. No, I can't say that. But I dealt with a liar, a philanderer, a gaslighter. Um, okay, let me not say this one for, I don't know. Let me just protect myself. A narcissist. I don't know if I covered that already. My mind is flying with so many flashbacks. In terms of my mothering technique, you know, women sometimes you get to a point where even your own children overwhelm you. And I remember this one time, my son I was tired. I was tired, and I just said, you know what, babe, please could you just take our son, just go out with him maybe for a couple of hours. I just need a break. I need a breather. This is the answer I got. What kind of mother are you? Never in my life have I ever heard of a woman saying she's tired of her own children. Francis, you have this child. This is your responsibility. You must take care of this child, and no matter what happens, that is your responsibility. You look after that child. Don't ever pass that child on to me and say you are tired. What kind of rubbish is that? Yo. You know, Ne, to a certain extent, it does make you feel guilty, but I was so strong and I said, I refuse. I'm not mad. There's a lot of women out there, they get nannies, they get helpers, they get maids, they get au pairs purely because they're tired and they need a break. I'm not any different. And I'm not a Martian. Why would this man make me feel like this? That would make me resent him even more for making me feel like I'm a bad mother just because I said I need a break. Women, yo, don't ever allow somebody to make you feel bad for just wanting a few minutes or hours to yourself, just to gather your thoughts and come back to self. You should never be made to feel guilty. Absolutely never. This is what this person, that was where my mothering technique was criticized. It was unbelievable. It was just unbelievable. It was unbelievable. I thank God that I passed that. So yeah, fashion sense, I was never criticized on that. So but there are some women who have men who tell them, why are you dressing like that? Don't you know it's only prostitutes that dress like that? Well, why are you dressing like that? I want my wife I want my woman to be more sexy for me. Don't cover up your clothes and looking like a church mother, a church woman. Oh my God. You know, guys, sometimes, man. You know, but and still in constant comparisons, the last point is in education as well. And I remember when my ex used to gloat over his qualification over mine. And it makes you to a certain extent almost blame yourself. But people are surrounded by different circumstances that happen to them. And it may cause you to not excel academically the way you want. And, yeah, I'm better than you. At least I have this qualification and you don't. Here's the ironic part. With your qualification, you were jobless and I was working. It's called grace. When your time comes, your time comes. It doesn't matter what you have. There's a lot of people who aren't qualified for positions that are sitting in those positions and God puts them there. You have no right to gloat over your qualification, about your qualification to somebody else. You have no right. People have different blessings at different times and stages in their lives. So that is my last contributing factor to the brokenness of a woman. And I'm sure there's many other issues that I haven't covered. But these were the ones that stood out for me that I can personally relate to. And I know that there's a lot of women out there that go through exactly the same thing. Not every woman is a hustler per se. Just because your man is a hustler, you may not be a hustler like that. You may just be a chick that does a 9 to 5 or an 8 to 4 job. That's your hustle. There are some women who can do a 9 to 5. They can do an extra job or start a business on the side and do. Not every woman is equipped to do that. Then when you get a man comparing you to those other women, it's not her strength. Know your worth, women. Know who you are. Know your value. There is a man out there that is built just for you, who accepts you for who you are. And until you find that man, don't rest. God will bring that man for you. He will surely bring that man. Whatever you need to do in terms of your decision-making process, if you're in this, ladies, the information that I've shared, if you're going through this, I promise you, if you aren't already broken, it will break you. And my prayer for you is that as you listen to this video, I pray that God visits you and brings such healing and reminds you of your worth, reminds you of your value, that He reminds you why He died on the cross. He was chastised just for us. By His wounds we are healed. Every bad thing that could have possibly happened to us He died for it. So when somebody comes into your life and does such painful things, you were already bought at a price. You were bought at a price. You were bought at a price. Nobody has the right to exercise a godliness over your life. There is only one God, your creator. I will speak like this because I'm a Christian. I don't know what you believe in. My advice, get out while you still can. And if you're out, fight to become the best version of yourself you could possibly be. Fight to become the best version of yourself you could possibly be. And the only person that will do that is you. And the only person that can help you is God, because He is your source. Women, if you have a husband that is blessing you, that is helping you advance and progress, do not take him for granted. He is your godsend. Appreciate him. Don't go and compare your husband and say, yeah, other men are doing this and you're not doing this for me. That is so disrespectful to what he does for you. That's a story for another day. Right. I hope you were empowered by the information that I shared. This is me closing my book because I'm done. I'm hungry. I need to get me some food. Stay blessed. Be blessed. Stay blessed. Always. It's been an absolute pleasure. I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, just so that you can make sure you don't miss any of my uploads when I put them up on my YouTube channel. This is Intimate Conversations with Francis O'Brien, healing one heart at a time. Have a wonderful week, and may God bless you abundantly.